the Afghan wars, and just that wars in general and stuff. And the only way you can stop the wars in general is to basically, to get rid of the violence within ourselves, because there's a lot of violence within ourselves, and basically the violence that we do to each other and to animals, to other people, other countries reflects on that basically. So yeah, yeah. I just want to commentate also about the conversion to Charlie Beach. Charlie Beach basically went up to a YouTube video last week saying he now believes in the official story of 9/11, and basically the crucifixion he got in the movement. Yeah, it's a disappointment, very, very big disappointment. It's a very large understatement. So what has actually happened last week to his new conversion to all this kind of stuff. But it's not good to actually, give hatred and, the things I've seen on Facebook of Charlie Beach, the overwhelming hatred has been unbelievable. So, people need to be, cautious. I respect what his newfound beliefs are, and that's up to him. That's his destiny. He wants to do that kind of thing. That's up to him. But I completely disagree with what he's saying and stuff. So, but you don't need to, people, his fan base was mainly basically 9/11 truthers, 90% of them. So obviously he just should have been a bit careful what he was going to say, because he was just going to anger a lot of his fan base basically. Now, what can you do about do that? That's his, he knew what's going to happen, and basically the BBC is now going to show him his new awakening. He's seen the light now, and the BBC documentary will show Charlie showing these 9/11 truthers, some crazy lunatics giving him death threats, and they'll basically be looked at as basically crazy lunatics that need to be dealt with by the government, and by putting them in concentration camps or whatever. But he's gonna get the BBC hit piece is going to be really, really bad for the 9/11 truth movement, and it's going to happen. That documentary is probably going to happen maybe a week or a few days before the 10th anniversary of 9/11. So, that's what I'm going to say. For now, I'm going to do my dialogue now. So, what we're going to do in this dialogue is talk about in the theme of what I've just did my commentator on leaders. Why do we need leaders? Why do we actually depend on leaders to lead us? Is it because we have an emptiness inside us? We need to be led. Led like cattle, like sheep. That's how the byproduct of society is. We have no, inner peace within ourselves, inner guidance within ourselves. So we depend on people like Tony Blair, George Bush, and Gordon Brown, and these people. Sorry, there's flies in there. Why do we actually depend on people like all these, David Camerons and all these people? Not on a micro level. A lot of people depend on them and live by their every word. And you got people in the, resistance movement depending on, for example, Noam Chomsky, John Pilger, and you got the truth movement, which is, Alex Jones, David Icke. Why do we depend on them? Why do we depend on them to do all the thinking for them? The best way of thinking is to think critical for yourself. Observe what your daily actions, your daily thoughts, your daily interactions with other people, because at the end of the day you can read 10, 12 hours of research or books or enlightenment or religion about God and all this wonderful stuff. But if you're treating people like crap and how you treat people is extremely poor, what's a complete waste of time, to be honest. It's just basically a daily observation of our realization of our relationships with ourselves and our people with outside our lives, because our society is basically our government and state, our corrupt government is just basically an extension of ourselves. Our government is basically created by us. It might be very difficult to realize that, but these elites and all this is a byproduct of the corruption and the violence within ourselves, the greed and the worship of, power and money and stuff. So, it's not this problem is not separate from you. All these injustices that's happening around the world, such as the wars, people dying, starvation, absolute extreme poverty. It's a byproduct of us. We need to take complete responsibility of that because we have created that. Thought has divided the world into hundreds of countries, and basically we compete each other to see who's the most competitive country in the world. Obviously, the most competitive countries and the most successful country in the world are the most ruthless and aggressive countries in the world, as you can see by the America, China, this country, the UK. It's extremely aggressive, and it's very important to, realize, this country, we are living in a very bad state of country, a really very bad state at the moment. But often it's always reflected in ourselves because, we're not, as I said, we're not a reflection outside. The inside of us reflects the outside world, and to actually break out of that violence and that cycle of what the world is gone through tremendous chaos at the moment. To get out of that, you have to observe yourself with great observation through true meditation, watching your every thought and how you interact with people, and to look and observe, not to judge or praise the violence, the attachments, the greed, the selfishness, the me, from the me. I'm not talking when I say the me. When I say the me, I mean the me that always thinks about myself all the time, thinking about me all the time. In the protest on 13th June, there was actually a police officer that said, "What the hell do you do? What you do? I only care about myself, and that's what really matters at the end of the day." So at the end of the day, he just saying to me, and those police officers, were saying the same. They're showing it with their actions. It's all about me. Who cares about the world if it's going in complete hell? I just care about me and my security and my money in my house. Who cares about everyone else? Who cares about them? That's the greed and the attachment of the me, and it's very important to get, I'm not saying to get rid of the me and if you don't have a house or have security or food. I'm not saying that, but the me is the attachment to your own ambition, to your own greed, and your own, always, basically screwing people over and degrading them. That's how the corporate work life is. Basically, you basically screw and fight, and you basically, kiss people's asses to reach the top of the of the corporation. Basically, you've lost who you are. You lost your humanity doing that. The implication that you might got some money, a lot of money from that, but you've paid a huge price by doing that. What you have done by jumping through the hoops of the system and, losing who you are at the end of the day. So it's very important to get rid of the me, and you can actually watch this through daily observation of the me, always thinking about acquisition to get the, better clothes, better whatever, better Chinese slave goods, the better, everything, the better status with everything in life, because people are enslaved with statuses. You can see that in the politicians' eyes, you can see that in a lot of people's eyes, they always want prestigious awards, greatness, lords, knighthoods, all that kind of nonsense, which is completely ridiculous in its own merit. So it's very important to, realize, to look at the me, because that me, there's people concerned about the me all the time, is causing tremendous suffering in the world, because we don't care about our people that are suffering around the world. You might say it verbally, but innerly you just say it to look cool and trendy. People want to solve, the crises of starvation, death, and wars verbally, but mentally in the heart they just do not have it, because there would be less wars. Wars, if we had peace within ourselves, there would be no wars in the country, in the whole world, basically. But the only result of wars happen because of our fragmentation and our conditioning for thousands of years through nationalism, through organized religion, through tribes, through, it's ridiculous. There was a BBC documentary I watched. It was about machines and how human beings are programmed like machines. Like most people ain't they programmed to be like machines? Ain't you programmed to be Christian and British or American or Pakistani or Iranian or Russian, or your brainwashing condition like programmed to be a Muslim, a Christian, a Buddhist or Sikh? Ain't you programmed like a computer, and you never break out of that computer program? Because if you break out of the computer program, you're going to have a huge backlash with your family, and they might disown you. But it doesn't really matter, because we are programmed like computers, and we've been conditioned for thousands upon thousands of years to be that way, and we need to turn that tide to break out of our mentally conditioned, our psychological conditioning. To only realise that is to have a deep, penetrating inner revolution within your own heart, a revolution within your soul, because you can only have a true, genuine revolution can only happen within yourself, a true radical revolution within a psychological revolution in your whole soul, in your whole body, and basically it creates a fantastic change in the whole world, how you look at things, and not focus on physical revolution, because physical revolution, as I said in my previous videos, leads to getting rid of the old tyrants, and there'll be new tyrants and more draconian laws, more dictatorships, and more, So physical revolution is not the way. It's been shown by history it doesn't work. It doesn't actually work, and this BBC documentary, which I will post down in my description page of two good YouTube films about this BBC documentary about basically people that were so sick of the corruption of the capitalist system. They created a commune and they lived together for quite some time, for maybe 3 years. But basically what happened, hierarchies were created, power structures were created, even though they said verbally there's no hierarchy, there's no telling what other people to do. People just gradually became that way. It was just basically people fighting each other, and power structures became groups of people fighting with each other, and basically group structure, basically happened, which is completely ridiculous. Okay, let me just continue with my talk. Basically, there's a lot of injustices in the world, and it's very important to break out of that condition, because there's so much suffering in the world. Why is there so much, that's what I can say at the moment. Just lost my train of thought for a minute. I was talking about the second documentary. First documentary was talking about the communes that never worked out because of the power structures. The second one was basically the history of the Congo, and how people were conditioned and programmed, because basically in the Congo, they were programmed by their old masters, the Belgians, to basically look at these two tribes as different, the Hutsis and Tutsis, and basically the Hutsis got really angry with the oppression they received, and basically massacred all the Tutsis, because the Belgians said that the Tutsis were superior to the Hutsis, and basically it broke a certain conditioning where the Belgians put ID cards to say, you're very different to these people here. Because before the Belgians came, they were living in harmony with each other in the land, and getting on with each other peacefully. And then when the Belgians came, the conditioning began with the ID card, and the conditioning saying the Tutsis are more superior to the Hutsis, which is completely ridiculous. And then basically a massacre happened for it, and it lasted